here at Six Silver Seals, and we've got some things to get to. It's been a little while since my last video, and I did want to apologize for that. I don't like leaving you guys to hang in the dark if I can help it, but circumstances were a little bit beyond my control, so lots of this video is going to be playing catch up. Before we get started on that, though, I did want to remind y'all that you can find me on Facebook and Patreon at Six Silver Seals, or on Instagram and Tumblr at tenebrous.truth. I post like the Tarot Tuesday video, or not video, but images rather, that went up today. Obviously the other videos here on YouTube. Plus whole lots of content you won't get anywhere else, either on the Instagram or the Patreon feeds, depending on where I feel like putting something on a given day. Through Patreon, though, you can also sign up for astrology newsletters, as well as free monthly readings, etc., etc. You should really go check it out. It's worth a lot of your time. Not to mention, it gets you more of my smiling face. Okay, so we got lots of catching up to do, and we're going to jump in from last Saturday, 3 days ago, April 25th, when Pluto went retrograde. Now, I know some of you already are, but for those of you who are not already familiar, more planets than Mercury do go retrograde. And for those of you who don't know what that is, retrograde motion of a planet is apparent backwards motion through the sky and through the horoscope. It looks like the planet is moving the wrong way, so to speak. Of the luminaries that we track in astrology, only the sun and the moon do not go retrograde. And so keeping track of when the other ones do is important because it tells us when the focus of that planet shifts. And so when we're talking about Pluto retrograde, we're talking about Pluto, the planet of life, death, and rebirth, of changes, of transformations. For those of you who are familiar with the astrological associations in the tarot, Pluto's card is Judgment, as in Judgment Day, which means that it is... Excuse me, goodness. My stomach's been a little uneasy ever since I had to go into the ER on Sunday. You're going to have to bear with me a little bit. Pluto is Judgment in the tarot, and so when it appears in readings, Judgment does, it indicates a place where something has gone past a point of no return. Things have changed in a way that they will, never be able to change back from. And then depending on whether or not you read reversals, whether the card is upright or reversed, and the other cards that it's in contact with in the spread will tell you whether or not that change has been for good or ill. But the change is the constant, as humorous as that phrase is. So when planets go retrograde, their spheres of influence are, instead of being directed outward from us, they're directed inward towards us. So a lot of us, most of us in the collective, will probably be forced to grapple with some serious questions about the nature of how we're different to the way that we think we are, or we've become different to the way that we thought we were. So it's a lot of self-searching and a lot of soul-searching. Don't forget that Pluto does rule Scorpio. So shadow work is kind of inherently a given with Pluto, but particularly while it's retrograde, because again, it's the turn inwards. It's the withdrawal into self. And so this will go on for quite a while, so it's not something you have to press on. It isn't like Mercury retrograde where it's, running backwards for a good 2-3 weeks. This is much, much longer, so you have more time. But that does make it a little more poignant on the societal scale, because Pluto is one of those planets that is dealt with by society at large, and not just a few individual people at any given time. Compounding this, while we're doing all this work on the self, along comes Mercury sliding past Aries and moving into Taurus. And as I told you a couple of weeks ago in the video about Mercury and Aries, Mercury and Taurus is going to be the last chance for a little while to slow down. Mercury will probably not afford us this opportunity, even with retrogrades in between, until it gets to Scorpio, Taurus's opposite number on the far side of the zodiac. Um, but while it's here, it's not just an opportunity to slow down, it's an opportunity to really get some meaningful work done. To sort of, and I've been using this metaphor with Taurus a lot lately, to sort of strap on the harness and get in the traces and start, plowing a row. It is deep, powerful, meaningful work that needs to get done. And that we feel motivated and capable of doing. Motivated to and capable of doing, rather. So, together, for the 2 weeks that Mercury will be here before it moves into Gemini, we're going to be picking up a lot of old loose threads with Pluto, and really doing some work about them, or we should be. Remember that astrology is always participatory. While Mercury is in Taurus, it's the perfect complement to a retrograde Pluto in Capricorn. Because Pluto will, if you tap into these energies, Pluto will open your eyes to what's different than you thought it used to be, and Mercury will help you change it. These are both very good things as long as you're willing to put the work in and remember that the struggle between now and the end is going to be worth the result that you get for it. Astrology is participatory. Like I said, you only get out of it what you put into it, so be sure that you're putting good into it. That way you will get good out of it, although it may be more in the eventual sense of good than in the immediate kind of gratification that society has gotten us all very used to. However, that's not to say you have to be all work and no play, especially not since both these aspects have already started. Like I said, Pluto retrograde was on Saturday the 25th, and yesterday the 27th, Mercury moved into Taurus. But so these things are already at play. It's just a matter of tuning in and tapping into it. Coming up this end of this week, Friday is Beltane. Friday is May Day. For those of you who hold to the Wheel of the Year, the Witch's Calendar, it is the last holiday of spring. It is announcing that summer is on its way before the solstice comes in June. And so it's primarily its history is as a festival of fertility. So it's a good day to, if the weather is cooperative, it'll be a good day to go out, tend to your garden or start one if you haven't already. However, these don't necessarily need to be literal physical fertility. It can also be, the children or projects of the mind. You could get some creative endeavor off the ground. A story that you've been writing, a YouTube channel that you've been looking to make videos for. It's a good time to really put some groundwork in, especially leading up to that, to debut it on May 1st. The big thing about Beltane is giving, it's not just to create something, but to create something with use, with value, with meaning, even if that meaning is only to you, but it still needs to be a meaning you can show to other people. Hey, look at this thing I made. So, again, some of the things that Pluto might ask you to look at while it's retrograde is, to borrow from Marie Kondo, what sparks joy? But also, you have to remember that Mercury in Taurus is a hard worker, but he plays every bit as hard as he works, and this is a great time for that. So if you really want something enjoyable to come out of whatever your creative endeavors happen to be, now is the time to be putting in groundwork, because when Beltane comes in just a few days, you can unveil what you have as the promise of what is to come, something that will hopefully develop into its full flower by the time summer is over. So there is your preview. Try to keep it brief of retrograde Pluto, Mercury in Taurus, and the upcoming holiday of Beltane. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Maybe drop me a like or a subscribe, because I can't get by without them. Check me out on Patreon. That's 6 Silver Seals. And I will catch you guys next time.